I'll jump on stage.
Can I request my banner to come here?
What?
No, kidding.
Okay, hello everyone. Hey, thank you guys for coming down to today's Founders Meetup. This is another one in a series of Founders Meetups, of course, aimed to serve and help solve founders' pain points. So today we're going to be having Josephine Chow from ShopBack to talk about growth and expansions. But before that, let me tell you more about Tech in Asia community, right? So we have a Tech in Asia community Facebook group on Facebook, of course. If you are not part of it already, it is the group to be. Because we curate the members that actually come on this group, we don't have 20,000, 30,000 members and people selling nonsense on the thing. This is a highly curated group, so we have discussions, we have awesome, check it out. So you see, we have discussions, people actually share articles, and people create polls, fun polls to find out more about, anyone. And yeah, our community members actually meet each other at events all around the globe actually, and they also post it up here so that they can tempt everyone. And yeah, so the Tech in Asia community has as well online initiatives such as the Ask Me Anything segment, where we actually put influencers and experts on the online stage for you to ask anything. So that's not something that you get to do every other day. Josephine, our guest today, was also on an AMA segment before, so if you have not checked that out, check that one out. That's quite awesome. We also have online panels. Now these are more topic focused. So online panels, we focus on different topics, like we had a SaaS one, we had an engineering one. So depending on, we were going to put experts, okay, 2 to 3 experts on the online stage where you can actually ask them anything about that particular topic. So do hang tight for more coming up. And of course, the online pitch segment that actually serves founders, especially early stage founders. You get to pitch into, these are the awesome VCs and accelerators that we actually had before. And so at the end of it all, the VCs will actually help assess the pitch. And if they think that, hey, this idea is quite fantastic, they would actually ask for a link up. And that is actually awesome. It's good with feedback that's been given to us. And of course, stuff like that. Community meetups. So we have also a lot of other community meetups that we've had over the years, and yeah, and so this is one of them. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to pass the time over to Nicole from U Startup. So everybody, let's give her a round of applause, and she'll tell us more about U Startup's initiatives. Right. Let me plug that in. Okay.
Evening, I'm Nicole from NTUC U Startup. In case you're wondering why am I standing out here to sell Goyo. Okay, essentially, NTUC U Startup is a new initiative by NTUC to reach out to the startup community. All right? Am I standing correctly? Okay. Okay, to reach out to the startup community. And why is NTUC reaching out to the startup community? Because we realize that the workforce is evolving and startup is a segment that we would want to reach out to. So that's why NTUC U Startup, there is this new initiative. And then how is NTUC coming into the picture? Essentially what we are trying to do is to help the startup to be plugged into our NTUC network. So NTUC network, we mean companies that we have been working very closely with, our partners, be it from SMEs, MNCs, or partners like from our unionized companies as well. So if you are a startup looking for B2B collaborations, come talk to us. We will be able to do the link up or the connection. Or if you are a B2C startup, for example, we will be able to connect you or link you to our 900,000 union members that we have in our database. So that's another thing that we can help to do as well. Right, and then next year, moving onwards, we will have more and more initiatives coming up together with Tech in Asia and some other companies as well. So just follow us, and then I hope
growth strategy that we've been doing for the last 2 years. I guess before I start, can I have a very quick show of hands? How many of you here are from a company that is in the growth expansion department? Okay, that's a lot of you. So that's about 25%. And how many of you have already started your growth expansion plans? That's everyone who lifted their hands up, I think. Okay, that's great. So hopefully whatever I'm going to be sharing today is going to be useful for you. It has took us a very long time to really find solutions and ways to do things a little bit better. We're not perfect yet, but we're still always trying to get there. Currently, for us, right now, in the market that we are at, is actually a very big number of people in Southeast Asia who are already shopping online. I'm not sure how many of you already know about ShopBack, but I'm going to dedicate a small section of it to tell you a little bit more about what we do and how we actually make money in our business model. But before then, I will share some quick numbers. Any one of you are actually online shoppers here? Avid online shoppers? How many of you here shops at least once a month online? How many of you here shops every single day? I still have my hand raised though. So actually, from that previous survey, it was actually done by PwC, 60% of the people in Singapore are actually buying or making purchases on a monthly basis. So out of curiosity, we decided to run our own because ShopBackers are actually very heavy shoppers themselves. And obviously, from what we found, 58% of our user base actually shops on a daily basis. It's very, very huge. 23% of them shop at least 2 to 3 times per week, and actually a tiny little bit, 9% shops once a month only or less. So people who are on our platform are actually very, very active shoppers. And of course, that's just Singapore numbers, right? There are a lot of other markets out there that has seen similar numbers that are growing. And in terms of population size, very clear, Southeast Asia is a winning area to be expanding into. And even though there are some regions, such as Indonesia or Philippines, that has slightly lower internet penetration, the sheer volume of population actually makes these markets very, very exciting, which is why we are really looking into delving into these markets. So enough about numbers. I'm going to share a bit about ShopBack and what we do. Again, questions. I really love questions. How many of y'all have heard of ShopBack before? I'm so proud. How many of you actually have money in your ShopBack account? That's not a lot. See, this is a problem that I'm going to be sharing with you in a little bit. Our mission really was to help our merchant partners grow their online transactions. So we are actually I'm part of a team, founders, who were part of e-commerce businesses, a mix of logistics, gaming, fashion. And what we noticed was affiliate marketing is actually not very big in Southeast Asia at the moment. And I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with affiliate marketing. It's a little bit like a door-to-door salesman strategy where I only get a commission for every order that I actually drive or every sale that I drive. And for us, we realized this model is actually lacking in this region in terms of percentage of market share in the marketing industry. And the second thing is e-com is very exciting. Everyone keeps talking about how online is going to overtake offline, but we all know that that's not really true. If you look at sales numbers, only 5% of all the revenues right now actually comes from online for Singapore alone. And for the other Southeast Asian markets, it's even less. So there's a very huge potential here. And what we want to do is really build a community of people who are smarter shoppers, who know how to make use of online tools and how to actually make purchases on a smarter way. And it's a platform that we decided to build for 2 key market groups. One is the merchants themselves. As a marketeer, it's not cheap to do advertising nowadays. For example, I can purchase a TV ad, or I can buy a billboard somewhere. Maybe the agency will promise me that 1 million people are going to see it, but it doesn't necessarily convert into a transaction. What we do is we want to build a model that actually sustainably and cost efficiently help our merchant partners drive sales without spending too much money. And the second part is really to help consumers like myself to save a bit more while I'm at it and discover more stores, because someone who purchases from, say, Taobao might not be buying from Lazada. Someone who buys from Lazada might not buy from Zalora. It's really helping our customers discover a little bit more. ShopBack, this is how we came about. Right now, we're about 1,300 merchants across Southeast Asia. It's a very big mix of your Rocket Internet guys. We have your Alibabas, including your Taobao, Tmals, and AliExpress. We also work with more brick-and-mortar companies, which I'll share in the next couple of slides. And we've been around for 2 years, and we are now currently in 6 markets, with Taiwan being our latest one, only launched 2 months ago. This is our platform if you've not seen it. And these are just some of the partners. Quite excited to share that we recently onboarded you guys like Nike and Apple, Guardian even for Singapore, and so on and so forth, and Singtel as well. This was the model I was talking about earlier. A lot of customers actually call us not just to ask about how to shop online and whatnot. They actually call to find out how we actually make money. Because when you receive something free, the first question you ask is, why in the world are you giving me free money? Why in the world are you giving me free incentives? Money obviously doesn't fall from the tree. What a lot of users don't understand is the merchants actually pay us a commission. We keep some, and we share the rest of it with the customers themselves. So in this very essence, the first part of it is actually affiliate marketing. We just threw in the third part to incentivize users to try online shopping, because in Southeast Asia, what we found was people like incentives. They like hong baos, they like ang paos, they like to play games and win stuff. So when we reward users, the propensity of them trying to make purchases online for the first time is a lot higher, which is why this last segment is actually introduced. User-wise, in about 2 years, we have about 1.75 million subscribers at the moment. Our latest mobile app, which only launched in August, has already 650,000 downloads. And this is because of our very, very aggressive marketing strategy, mixed not just with money throwing onto the table, not that much, but also engaging more on the community front, which I'll share a little bit more later. This is obviously a show-off slide. I had to put this here. But I'm quite proud to say that we recently won a couple of awards as well this year. So in summary, our growth has been very, very substantial. I love this line. This line makes me very happy. These are actually some of the competitors that we have in the region, or people with similar business models. Anyone with anything similar in affiliate marketing, we try to throw them into this graph as well, just so that we don't miss out anyone, or because business models can always change. And of course, coverage-wise, it has been very phenomenal for us. And in less than 2 years, we managed to expand into 6 markets, which brings me to today's topic about market expansion and also growth in Southeast Asia. I hope everyone's following. I'm just going to backtrack a little bit to the earlier slide about population size. Right now, the internet user here is very, very extreme. And in terms of social media as well, it's very high. And if you look at percentages-wise, each of them are actually quite different. And every single market has a different consumer set. This means that in Southeast Asia, it's a very difficult market because it's very fragmented at the moment, not just in terms of the population, the type of user behavior, but even the e-commerces that actually venture into these different markets. Indonesia will see a whole set of e-com businesses that Singapore might not. Same for Philippines, same for Taiwan, same for Hong Kong, etc., etc. Second point is Southeast Asia, as much as Singapore is very, very developed compared to the rest, a lot of the other Southeast Asian markets still have a very traditional mindset. And it's very difficult for us to reach out to them without actually localizing some of our strategies. Thirdly, cultural differences. I can speak English, I can speak Chinese, I can speak Cantonese, but it doesn't mean I can go to Indonesia and start speaking English, Cantonese, and Mandarin to people. People there speak Bahasa. Localization is very important. Fourth part, basket size and repurchase rate is actually not that high at the moment. I'll share some numbers in a bit. And lastly, each country is actually in a very different consumer stage at the moment. And this is something that I think everyone needs to understand before you think about market expansion. So the first problem is a very fragmented market. This is actually a study done by Bain. And if you look across the chart, these are just some of the popular merchants that are across the market. And there's so many options, right? Who do I work with? Who do I partner with? And who exactly should I be focusing on? ShopBack's model is very unique, right? Because we're like an online definitive guide of online shopping for us. And what we have an option of is to decide which partners we want to work with. And there's so many. E-com businesses are all flying in, blog shops, everyone's just opening a business online. But how do I decide who to choose, what to pick, who to work with? And very clearly, focusing on big players is actually one thing that we've been doing very well, because if you onboard everyone, number one, it dilutes your proposition, your value proposition. And secondly, when you onboard everyone, you actually also onboard the guys who might have like slightly lower quality, which might affect your brand as well. So first step, really, backtracking a little bit, a fragmented market, you need to have focus. And for us, in our business model, it's really about focusing on big players. I'm going to be sharing very specific ShopBack examples. So there are a lot of problems that I think a lot of businesses might face. So hopefully these very specific ones can actually help you out. Problem number 2 that we faced was the traditional mindset of certain developing countries. I'm just going to share 4 very specific examples for us. There are a lot of others, but I think these are more top line and makes more sense for generic business. Firstly, Southeast Asia users are generally less receptive to new concepts. And as a cashback site or as an affiliate marketing model, it's very new. People don't understand what it means, where the money comes from, how our business model is going to help them out. And of course, when you have legacy issues, it's very difficult for you to convince users or even your partners to come on board to your program. The second problem we faced was that in Indonesia, interestingly, specifically, people like to communicate on a very direct means. I don't like you telling me what to buy exactly via advertising modes when I have no one to communicate with. People want to have the affirmation that there's someone out there who's going to fulfill my order for me so that I have that trust and that credibility with that merchant itself. This was the second issue that we faced, and we realized that 15% of all orders in Indonesia for all e-com businesses are actually made through direct means. For example, I will call Lazada and ask Lazada to make a purchase for me, and so on and so forth. The third one is cash is still king. So I think everyone here has a credit card, I'm sure. On average, a Singaporean would have 3 to 4 if you're above 25. Other markets actually are not so fortunate. They actually have rules such as maximum cap of 2 credit cards. If you sign up for the third one, you need to cut it up. They have rules like if you have no minimum spend, it's a lot stricter than in Singapore. You can't even have credit cards at all. So cash is still king in a lot of the markets, and especially the more developing ones. And for us, this was a struggle because it was something, as a Singaporean, we don't really understand. This is why I do that. I just pay way all the time, and I don't have that much money in my wallet anytime. Fourth thing is mobile is very, very key in Indonesia. Everyone there uses one, and if you look at it here, I think all of you probably have a laptop or a desktop at home. Indonesia is very different. If you have a desktop or laptop, you're actually from a rich family. It's a luxurious item. You are very lucky to have something like this, but not in Singapore. So understanding all these differences very specifically really helped us to make better decisions when it comes to market expansions. And how we solve them is really about localizing and trying to influence behavioral change. It's not easy, but you need to aim big. The first issue that I brought up of how Southeast Asian users are generally not receptive to new concepts. One way we tackled this was really by building credibility with partners. When you first launch and you first go into a market, nobody is going to know who you are. ShopBack, shop what? Like, I've spoken to people trying to explain what the business concept is. They still don't remember. They still ask many questions. Where the money comes from? Why are you doing this? Why are you giving me money? And I just explained to the guy, right? So building credibility is very important. And one way to do it very quickly is to tie up with huge names. And for us, when we launched into a new market, this is an example for Taiwan. We already had a regional deal with Samsung Galaxy Life. Samsung is not the leading smartphone here yet, but it is in the other markets for Android. And what we decided to do was to tie up with them and be able to latch on their brand name as well. So when you enter a market, when people see your name being compared to Samsung, it makes a very big difference. It makes a mark. Secondly, we also work with big bank names like Citibank. I'm sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but that one is Citibank. We work with the other big guys like your Grab Taxis, Expedia, and when people see you working with these guys, the credibility automatically shoots up. It's a little bit like how you see a store in a physical space. If you see a store at a Pasar Malam, very, very generic, versus a store that you see in Orchard Ion, the perception that you have of that store is very different. It's a similar concept here. So building credibility was one way that we solved by partnering with special guys. The second problem was that a lot of orders in Indonesia were made via direct means, and people needed to communicate with someone. So when we actually launched Indonesia, we the live chat option very, very quickly because people had so many questions. People were writing into their emails to us, expecting us to reply within minutes, literally. So obviously we do not have bandwidth to do the email backend because there are a lot of limitations. But when you have live chat, people get responses very, very quickly. They get in queue, yes, sure. But when you reply them, it's very immediate. And this is very much about building the customer trust as well. And as a start, it's a lot about understanding what exactly they're looking for, what they want, which is why we decided to come up with the live chat tool. The third one is how cash is still key and king in the less developed markets. Now, this is slightly similar to the first point I brought up about driving credibility, and also very similar to the second point as well. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to onboard a lot of options for users to be able to cash out their cash. Originally, we started off with just PayPal because PayPal was very easy to utilize. But what we noticed was people didn't really have PayPal accounts. So at the end of the day, if they don't even have that account, they cannot even cash out their earnings. So the first thing we did was to work with all the local banks as well, at the same time as onboarding the merchants, to make sure that these value propositions are all satisfied on a very localized front. And that's why we have your Citibank, UOB, POSB in Singapore. When you look at China and even Philippines, we have all the local banks, BPI, BDO, all of them are already on board. And users immediately identify with you as a credible brand, and at the same time, something that they can identify with, something they can find useful. So this is the third part. And also, of course, in lesser developed markets, this might be new here, but everyone here is probably on a postpaid contract, most people. Postpaid meaning you buy an iPhone for 24 months, and then you pay one shot, and every month you actually just top up, pay a fixed rate unless you overspend like me. In the other markets, they are all very used to prepaid mode. So only when their phone is running out of credits do they go to a convenience store or send an SMS to top up. And because of this behavior, what we wanted to introduce was not just a bank form of cash out option, but also a mobile cash out option where users can cash out their credits into their bank top up. So mobile top up. So they don't even need to keep going back. They can just use this and transfer their earnings into their prepaid phones as well. So it's really about finding areas to help consumers, a little bit better in a very, very localized manner. Lastly, mobile is very key in Indonesia. It actually takes up about 70% of all traffic in terms of e-com businesses, and it's very huge. For comparison, in Singapore, only about 40% of the people actually are browsing internet sites via their mobile, shopping sites via their mobile. So in comparison to Indonesia, it's very, very vast. And for us, mobile app first was a very, very important strategy. Indonesia only launched a year ago, and when we launched, we already started rolling out our roadmap for mobile. And without mobile there, it makes a huge difference because people just do not have desktops. When they don't have desktops, it was very difficult for them to surf or even browse our site. So mobile app was something that we wanted to do very, very quickly. Problem 3, cultural shopping differences. This one is fun. There are actually 3 countries up here. One is Singapore, one is Malaysia, and one is Indonesia. The x-axis is your time of shopping, and this is your traffic. Any guesses which is Singapore, which is Malaysia, which is Indonesia? I'm so sorry you can't see this, but this is around 9 p.m. This is lunchtime. Any guesses? Just for fun? Okay, you probably have the answers in your head. So this one over here is Indonesia. Oh, sorry, this one over here is Singapore. Very thankful to say the majority of the Singaporeans actually shop at night after working hours. And then if you look further down, you realize the majority of the people here shop when work begins. And then there's a little bit of, then this is lunchtime, and then there's a little bit of spike after lunchtime. So this is actually Indonesia. Very interesting, right? And the last one is actually Malaysia as well, where people actually shop during the lunch period as well. And this is something that we spotted as a trend since the very beginning of time. Understanding such cultural shopping differences was very important to us in order for us to push the right messages at the right time to different customers. There is actually a reason. I don't blame them for shopping during work hours. The first graph actually talks about the average connection speed across Southeast Asia versus United States. The second one talks about the fixed broadband prices versus their own income. And you realize that countries such as Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand is actually very expensive for online connection. And countries like Indonesia, Philippines actually has very slow connection on their prepaid or postpaid phones. So this means that the only access or fast, pretty decent access that they might have is actually doing office hours where there's Wi-Fi in their offices. So understanding all these little behaviors really helped us to reach out to these customers at the right time as well. So something that I think a lot of companies need to look at and to solve is by hiring a localized team. If I were to do Indonesia, I'm not going to know what to do there. I don't know where to start. A local team was very, very important to us, and you realize that every country, every department has someone that is local, especially on the country and channels front. And we also have offices in every single market as well. This one's actually very new. I know it's a bit blurry, but it's a really cool ShopBack sign in neon lights. We just launched this a couple of weeks ago. This is our Indonesian team, Malaysia team, Singapore team. The rest of them, they didn't want me to share their picture, so I didn't want to intrude their privacy. But having a localized team is very important because there are a lot of things that you can't tell, you can't see, you don't understand about the cultural context. So having a local team actually helps you to immediately already problem solve a lot of things. They can immediately tell you, write on a piece of paper, this is what my country is like, this is how people shop. This is what the shopping behavior is. If you market by, if you do advertising via platform A, that's bad. But if you do it via platform B, that's where I see it all the time. These are things that you and I are probably not going to know unless you're a local. So localized team, it was really, really important to us. You hear this every day, but I can't stress this more. Fourth problem is basket size, and RR refers to repurchase rate. So just sharing a very quick graph here. It's a lot of tiny little words and a lot of tiny little numbers, but just to summarize, what this is actually showing you is the expenditure online is phenomenal. Out of everyone who browses online, 2/3 of them have already made purchases before across SEA, and that's a very, very big number. And then when you think about it, the sales and sales volume versus offline volume should be pretty decently sized, right? But actually, it's not. If you compare us to Europe, China, United States, maybe Singapore, all these markets all have above 5% market rate of online spend, and the developing countries are all falling below 1% or around 1%, which is very, very low. And this comes from two main problems. If you do your basic math, your general gross merchandising value equates to your number of orders times your average basket size. So basket size is something that we saw is much lower than the other markets, and repurchase rate was something that we saw was not as high here. People are still not doing everything online, except for maybe me, because I really buy everything online, like groceries, travel, fashion, beauty, electronics. I bought everything before, but not everyone is me. And the repurchase rate here is just not that great at the moment. So what we really want to do is to elevate this. And the only way we can do this is to tell people what they can actually buy and educate them about online shopping, which is part of our smart shopping mission. Constant education is very important. I know you're wondering why there's a pizza up here. I had to share a story. When I first joined, we were in a very tiny office that had no windows. And our customer service team actually sat right behind me. So every day I could just hear them answering phone calls like, okay, you know what, just click that black button on the bottom left. You want to enter your promo code, just click that little button that says enter promo code. You want to enter your card number, just press that field that says enter card number. So they're very like basic things that our CS team was actually still trying to educate users on. The funniest one that I actually heard was her pick up the phone. She sounded a little bit frazzled, and she was like, okay, ma'am, so do you want the pepperoni or do you want the Hawaiian? Do you want XL or do you want L? She was actually legitimately making an F&B order for a customer, and she was just buying pizza for her, entering the credit card details. Very strange. The lady was okay with sharing her credit card number with our team, but she was not okay entering it herself. So I don't know, there's a security flaw there. So for me, constant education was very important. And what we decided to do was to really just try out last month, because it was 11/11 Singles Day. I think you guys have probably heard about it already. We decided to hold a tutorial session just for fun. So this was really out of working hours. We just decided to do it at our office space because it's free. We had tables and chairs ready there, and maybe we just forked out a little bit of budget to have some food and stuff, ordering pizzas. And we sent out an email to about 1,000 people asking them, hey, you know what? If you don't know how to shop on Taobao or Tmall or AliExpress and you want to gear up for your Singles Day, join us. We have pizzas, we have classes, and we have a Professor Yun Lam here, who would teach you how to shop online. Shockingly, I was expecting like 5 people to show up. There was over 300 people who RSVP'd for the event. There was more than half. I have no idea where they came from, but it was just a trial. Obviously, we couldn't host them. We actually only wanted to do it for one day. But in the end, we had to hold 2 sessions of just 20 groups. So only 40 people could come for our class. And we just did it for fun anyway. And they were really serious. They brought their laptops, they brought their tablets and everything. And they just really wanted to learn. So constant education is very important, not just on an online front. You do a display ad banner, you do Facebook. Your banner space is tiny. There's not much you can put onto that. But when you have like an offline session, teach people how to do it, you actually squeeze a lot more into it. But of course, your distribution size is not going to be very big. You reach out to less people, but the conversion rate generally is very, very high. So understanding which part or what segment your customers currently fall in is also very important. And this is how we solved it, by coming up with offline solutions as well, because we couldn't do everything online and nobody can be bothered to read. Nobody here reads fine prints, right? Nobody reads it. Nobody reads how it works, tutorials anymore. This was something that we wanted to do. On the same topic of education, aside from just doing video or even offline activities, we also try and cater our campaigns very much to what customers want to see. Nowadays, I think a lot of businesses still talk about how they use demographics to target people. Oh, I want to target for 18 to 35. I want to target only female. But what they're missing out is customer segment is a lot more complex than before right now. And my 8-year-old, okay, I don't really have an 8-year-old sister, but let's just say I have an 8-year-old sister. She can buy something from Net-a-Porter if she has my mom's credit card. A 65-year-old lady can actually just buy groceries or buy Pampers for her daughter. Or even a guy can actually be going on, I'm very sexist here, I realize. A guy can go on Sephora and just buy makeup for his girlfriend, for instance. So there's a lot of segmentations that actually we can explore that we are just very limited and tied down to just demographics alone. So really what we did was to create a educational funnel using the segment and data that we have internally to try and reach out to these different groups of customers. And obviously the data suggests that it's very different from Singapore to Malaysia to Indonesia to Philippines. The way they shop, the way they think is very different. And by understanding this, it helped us to tailor different sorts of campaigns to people and to what they want to see. So this was a very big learning for us as well. This is the final problem. Every country has different tools and different consumer stages, very much similar to the previous point that I brought up. Someone from, okay, this is going to sound very stereotypical, but someone from a university might be more interested to buy, I don't know, like ASOS versus something else. I'm not sure. But what they don't understand is someone from with a degree holder might not necessarily be all like that across the markets. They can be anyone. They can just buy anything they want, and everyone is now an individual organism. You need to target people very, very differently. And the thing that makes it even more complex is that this applies not just on an individual level, but also a geographic level. You look at Philippines, how they shop versus how Singapore shops, or how Malaysia shops is very, very different. And you need to tailor different strategies to reach out to these guys. These are two very wide spectrums of advertising. The one on your left is a billboard from 1836 when Coke started doing their billboard advertising. They wanted to start reaching out to as many people as possible. They wanted people to see their advertisements. And all they did was they just paid like $100. $100 back then is probably worth like $150,000 today or something like that. But they just wanted people to see the ad. And eventually it evolved, right? Because businesses realized that they can't sustain just awareness drives anymore. So they wanted to drive something that really drives sales, something that has an end goal of revenue, and became a door-to-door salesman. And every product that they sell has a different strategy. And what makes it more complex is when you have a product that you want to market, you want to go to Malaysia, Singapore, whatever, the way you reach out to customers is very different. How many of you are familiar or know all these logos here? This is a very easy question. If you don't have your hands up, there's something wrong. I assume all of you. How about these 4? All of you know it? Okay, I see nods. How about these 3? I still see a bit of nods. How about these 4 guys? Okay, I still see some people who know, but not everyone anymore. This is how far our advertising industry has evolved. There's so many agencies out there now that we can actually select. And something from, say, Tmogyo or Ad Parlor, I don't know, whoever, might be good for usage in Singapore, but the networks might be different in Malaysia, might be different in Indonesia. It's really understanding which channel to use when and for who. And it gets very expensive if you use it in the wrong way. Let's just say I spend $10,000 in an ad. If you look at the first row, a million users sees the ad. This is great because you're only paying 1 cent for every single person who sees it. That's wonderful, right? It's not expensive. And then you realize that, okay, because it's online now, I can track clicks. But only 1,000 people actually clicked on that ad. This is $10 per click. That's very expensive. But if a guy actually clicks on your ad, you're confusing and swearing, right? And then there's third one where, yes, 1,000 people accidentally clicked your ad, but only 1% bought. This actually translates to $10,000 per sale made for that ad. And it's extremely expensive. And if you do your advertising correctly for the right market, it makes everything, it drives your online or digital paid team crazy. So with this, I wanted to share very quickly, the next slide is actually my favorite slide. The probability of a display ad converting into an order versus actual scenarios of shark attacks, plane crash, and being struck by lightning. I have to make a disclaimer though. This is not ShopBack's number. We have a very good digital team, and our conversion rate is not that bad. It's still good, and I keep talking about how expensive and costly it is to use display ads, right, or CPM or CPC channels, but we still use them. Why? Because they serve different purposes. They drive the brand recalls for you. They drive efficacy and everything for you. So we still use them. At the end of the day, we still look at how much it is to acquire a new order from customers who have seen your ad. And shockingly to me, I'm not going to name who it is. It's a friend from an agency who's working. It's a friend from a company who's working with a digital agency who runs their ads for her. She told me that she spent X and X dollars, and she only got 1 order. And of course, I did my math backwards, right? I was like, hey, you spend this much. Okay, that's about 4 million impressions that you should have roughly gotten if you use display ads. Okay, and you got 1 order. Holy cow! I just immediately looked this up. I swear to God, I only did this this morning. I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh my goodness, that probability is so much lower than shark attack rates or plane crash rates or being struck by lightning. I don't think any of you here, hopefully not, would know anyone who were unfortunate enough to meet those events. But this just shows how important it is to do your ads properly and to understand your audiences as well as possible. And really, on a final note, I guess, this is very much about understanding the whole journey from start to end and which channels to use at which stage as far as possible. And each of these boxes can actually represent a different time frame for every single, for every different segment. So Singapore might require less time on awareness, more time on the consideration factor, more time purchase. Another market might actually need more time on awareness, less time spent on consideration and price. Understanding local strategies is very, very important. So to wrap up, there are 6 points. I thought I put 5, but there are 6 that I hope that you guys will take away. First is really to have focus. In our case, we focus on big players. I'm so sorry, I just dropped the mic. Okay, so the first one is really to focus on big players. Whatever your business model is, focus is very important. If you do something else other than focusing on your business, you start building a million pieces. You decided to make pizza, right? And then you start buying ice cream, and you start buying ladies' fingers, and you start buying like tomatoes, and then tomatoes are fine. You start buying chocolate. Your pizza is not going to become pizza anymore. It's going to become some weird trifle-looking thing, right? Second thing is localizing your strategy and really aim to influence. If you don't aim to influence, you can't go far. And behavioral change is very, very difficult to do, but it's something that if an industry works together very hard and push forward a new idea together, it actually makes a difference. Think 6 years ago when Rocket Internet first came into town, they started e-commerce here. And all of a sudden it's a boom. Everyone started doing e-commerce. Everyone wanted to do online business. Now it's everywhere. A lot of people are already buying online. Third thing is building local teams. This one, I know I should have put it in red, but it is extremely important. Localizing helps you to understand each market better. Fourth point is to spend effort on constant education. People need to be reminded, people need to know how it works. And people here are still very new to new concepts. When you throw something in their faces, you need to make sure that they understand it. And this understanding portion is actually not that easy to push. Fifth thing, collect data and optimize as you grow. I think someone here would know where I was studying before. I actually did a little bit of research back then, and I had to do questionnaire design. And the first question that I got asked by my professor was, should you do your demographics or not? How many questions about demographics should you include? Should you put it right in the front or should you put it right at the back? This is very relevant today about lead generation. Should I just collect email addresses and then maybe prompt them later to ask them for more data, or should I put everything in front and take a risk of them all falling off, right? Because the more you ask them about income, ask them about marital status, the likelihood of them to drop off is a lot higher. So it's really about a balance, but data is very important. You just need to make sure you collect them, the right amount, not too much, and optimize it. And lastly, and most importantly, spot the problems early. Please, as much as I say, try not to make mistakes or whatnot, you have to make mistakes in order to move on. If you don't even make mistakes, you're not going to push forward at all. And most importantly, when you make the problems, you need to spot them early. You must be wondering why the green frog is over there. This is something that I heard this morning from someone else about the green frog theory, where if you put a frog into a pot of boiling water, what happens? The frog immediately has a reaction. He just jumps out, right? He's not going to stay there and start swimming. But if you put the frog in warm water, he's going to swim around. And you turn on the stove, it's going to start boiling. This little guy is going to just drown and die. So if you take your time to not figure out what the problem is, you drown and die. Very, very simple. So really figure out your mistakes as early as you can, but don't try to avoid making them entirely. Try to make them and fix them fast. And with that, I'll just end with one of my favorite quotes. Don't count the things you do the things that count. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, we got. Yeah.
What's it? This is it. This. Oh, okay.
So any questions from the floor?
You mentioned that banner ads, right? Display ads don't really convert for convert. So what as for ShopBack, what's the marketing strategy with the highest conversion?
Wow. If you want to market a product, use ShopBack. we're a CPA model, so we only charge you for sale. No, but okay. Jokes aside, for us, display ads might be important, but it's part and parcel of our process. So it's not like, even though I say it's expensive in terms of driving orders, it still has very good multiplier effects in the future, because you need to build your brand, especially if you're new out there. People need to see you, and it's as much as fluffy as it sounds. There is a little bit about brand recall, brand advocacy in that sector. So we still do it, even though it's slightly expensive. But for us, what we'd like to do is we'd like to take an omni-channel approach. We just don't just do display ads. You need to understand where your customers are currently standing. If they are requiring education, you take channels that require help to educate users a little bit better. It could be videos, it could be offline activations. If you need to drive more credibility, it's about going to partners and working closely with them to drive your product out. So there's no one solution. It's really about finding which segment you want to improve and which channel to use to solve that problem. Yeah, hope that answers. Hello.
So what is the differentiation for going from outside compared to your competitors? What drove you so fast in such a short period?
In an honest answer, our team is actually really strong. Very aggressive. I think it's really the team having a do or die attitude that really helped push everyone forward. We're working like a single organism where everyone just decided to do things together, had the common end goal, which is not very easy for a company that's new to start. You can tell your team that you're gonna go far, you're gonna have like 10x, but if your team has such fluffy, no sense of direction, or don't have the same end goal idea, it's very difficult for everyone to move forward. So the team was very important. Every one of them took ownership of whatever they were supposed to do. So, and in terms of channels, we're pushing on marketing very, very heavily, not just on the paid side, but on the organic side as well. So yeah, and we were not afraid to try different things and fail and fix them fast. Yeah.
My name is Alan. You mentioned that you will find people in this. So let's say for us that are new company, no branding else, how do you approach and convince a big player to come on board?
Okay, good question. So for us, we had the same problem because when we first launched our product, nobody knew what ShopBack was. They were like, oh, ShopBack as in the bag. So we had a lot of problems in that front also. But we're very fortunate because in previous jobs or even in previous conferences that we attend, we kept our connections very close. And the model that we built was something that wouldn't cause any losses for our merchant partners. It was something that, I'm not going to lose anything. I'm only paying you if there's a sale. This guy can drive 1 million traffic to me, but I'm only going to have to pay this guy if there's transactions. And it's a win-win, right? There's transactions, then there is cost for me. So of course, to merchant partners, it was not very difficult for them to want to come on board onto our platform because it's just a no-loss strategy, which was something that we thought very hard about. Because if you build something that is not value-adding to merchants, then that proposition makes it a lot more difficult. But for us, that was very important. We needed to onboard merchants, and to onboard merchants, that was key because if there are no merchants, consumers are not going to come back. So understanding what your merchant partners need and solving their problem actually really helped us. Yeah, sure, I can hear you.
Alright, do you guys do like offline marketing and things like that? And if so, how do you kind of track this as opposed to say digital marketing?
Ooh, my favorite question, offline marketing and tracking to online. Very tricky. So we've actually tried a couple of things before. We did a very small scale test on cinema ads. For us, it was very much about tracking two things. One is whether or not people were visiting the URL. So we put a very specific CTA there. It's very important to make sure that you have an angle for them to reach. And the second thing is because it's organic, it's paid, but it's organically there. Users should technically organically come to our site or search for our brand. So what we look for is actually organic searches and the spikes in organic search. Different channels have different results, so there were a lot of testings that still needs to be done. Anyone else?
Hi. You mentioned that most of your users shop every day.
Yeah.
So you have pretty intense users, but from the point of view of the e-commerce companies, they might be more interested in acquiring new customers. So do they incentivize you more for the ones that are less frequent, or is it just flat?
That's a good question as well. So I think there's a very common misconception for a lot of companies that there is no cost tag to driving returning purchases. There is actually a cost, and internally when they run their own ship, right? For example, they have their own CRM. There's still costs that are involved, which is why a lot of them still are willing to pump in money to help drive orders as well. Because new customers, yes, it's going to help you to grow, but the other area of helping them grow is really to drive the purchase up. Like I said earlier, if someone buys from Zalora, they might not necessarily purchase from Lazada and vice versa. So what we're trying to do here is trying to help them as the e-commerce ecosystem in general uplift themselves. We want people to buy everything online now. We want them to try out every single platform that's available. So to your question, there are some merchants who definitely prefer new customers to existing, but they will not forego the existing customers because they understand that there is a cost that's involved to keep them loyal to their brand. Yeah.
Any more questions from the floor? Okay.
Is there a tipping point where you reach overload that happens to myself, and how do you get there?
What do you mean?
Is there a tipping point for growth where you get energy, and how do you get there?
Okay. Well, fortunately, we haven't reached there yet. We're still growing very tremendously, but it's very much about coming up with new products and different ways to reach out to your customers and understanding what they want. Because when you build a business model right now, or at least for us, we started off with something that wanted to incentivize users to try our product. But when you have like a cashback site, obviously a cashback is just cashback. But if you think further down, there's actually a lot of other things that we can do to expand our product, not just on geographically, but also on the product front, where we can actually develop stuff that would be very beneficial for individual consumers like myself, yourself, or whoever. So we've not reached that stage because we're always trying to innovate and advance our technologies. For example, after being a year around, we decided to come up with a mobile app for ShopBack. To be honest, I would love for it to have happened yesterday when it launched, but things happen. You miss the mark. You just have to miss the mark. And now it's a lot about thinking forward in the pipeline. What else can we do as a business instead of just cashback? You look at Grab Taxi, for example. They're known as Grab now. They're now doing Hitch. They're doing Pool. Uber is doing Pool as well. They're all trying to innovate as much as possible. The one that's very interesting is actually Gojek. So they do everything in Indonesia. They are the Uber or Grab Taxi of Indonesia, where you can order massages to come to your hotels. You can deliver postcards to your friend next door using Gojek. You can do anything on it. You can ask them to order food for you. So it's really about looking at your business model and making sure that it just doesn't plateau and come up with new innovative ways to expand your business model as much as possible. Yeah.
Any questions?
Hi, I'm probably this is something. So let's start much retailer like Lazada, Taobao from doing the same thing and bypassing you and just do a cashback offer.
Okay, so that's actually a really good one. What they can do right now is obviously they have their main strategy to drive their own internal growth. And what we're doing here is building e-com as a whole, which they do not have the focus on at the moment, or at least what I see. And the solutions that we provide right now are twofold. One is, of course, we have a user base of people who are already shopping online. And what we do is we drive all these guys who might not have been using Lazada yet to try out Lazada as a product. So in terms of value proposition, that is still there for our merchant partners. We still try and find different ways to do things for them that they might not have necessarily tried out. That said, if you have money, it's very easy to do things. But the thing that is stopping that would draw a line between something like that is having a team that is really dedicated. I cannot stress more on that point. Yeah.
So I believe that you have many ways for your strategy for marketing. So is there a KPI for every single strategy that you apply? And if there's no KPI, how do you know how much money should you put in for this marketing strategy?
Okay. KPIs are very important. So every single person in the company has a KPI. Even the customer service agent has the KPI of making sure that he replies X number of emails, solve X number of problems by X amount of time with X amount of satisfaction score by the end of the day. So every single person, even an intern, is tagged to a KPI. Very important on that front, because if we just move blindly, you are not going to be able to optimize in the future. You're not going to be able to make better decisions in the future, because I'm just guessing, right? I can just take money out of my pocket, throw $20,000 onto a marketing project, let it run. Oh, people saw the ad. It doesn't do anything for me, and I don't know whether or not I can do it again. So KPIs are very important. Every single person in a company is tagged with a KPI.
This is a lead generation company, right? ShopBack. So it's like, other than increasing revenue, how are you making the merchant smarter? Is there any insights that I can get? Because after that, like lead generation, I can use a lot of other ways to increase sales, increase revenue. But how can I be smarter as a merchant?
As a merchant?
So are you giving insights into like what's my customer base, what's my user base? How can I target a certain group or something like that?
Yes, so the good thing about our business model, aside from it being affiliate marketing and all that, is that we collect a lot of data. So, for example, let's just use Terrence as an example. I would know if he's buying travel. I can tell if he buys groceries on Tuesdays. I can tell that usually after he buys groceries, he's going to go over to Sephora and buy some beauty products for his wife. All these data are data points that we actually have. And CRM is actually one of our strategies that are very important to us, for us to understand how to better target your store. They want flight ticket, you usually receive like a travel insurance EDM banner at the bottom somewhere on your confirmation email. They know what you want and they know what you're looking for, and that's what we're gearing towards. And all these are very useful data insights that we do share with our merchant partners as well. Yeah.
So it's like merchants and demographics of users are coming, what's their purchase behavior, so all this, as a merchant, do I have a dashboard?
Right now, we do have dashboards for selected merchants, so we are quite selective in terms of quality control and everything, but not all of them would have that. Yeah, but we do it for good merchants.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? No? Alright, so yeah, we've come to the end of these Founders Meetup. Everybody, can you put your hands together for Josephine? Yeah. Awesome. Alright, yeah, so feel free to network. If you'd like to ask Josephine any questions, feel free to come forward and ask her some questions as well. We'd like to thank all you guys for coming down. See you guys at the next Founders Meetup, hopefully. Thank you guys for watching the live stream right now as well. Hello? Yeah.
I know we're still on.
Yeah, we are. Alright, yeah, so feel free to network away. Right.
No, it's okay. I put it in here already.